Welcome back, dear students. In last class, we have discussed about Dulong's and Petit's theory of specific heat of solids and also Einstein's theory of specific heat of solids. So, from this Dulong's and Petit's law, we come to know the specific heat of all solids is a constant. So, we have derived that equation, that is Cv equals to 3R. From the graphical representation, we come to know that at all temperature, the specific heat capacity of the solids is a constant, and this law is obeyed only for the high temperature. So at the low temperature, this law is fails to explain, and then this deficiency is solved by the another one of the scientist, by Einstein. Einstein was solved this difficulty by using some assumptions. So, and also he got a result from these assumptions. At low temperature and at high temperature, what is the specific heat capacity for the solids? At high temperature, his theories also follows the Dulong's and Petit's law, but at low temperature, the specific heat capacity of all the solids is dropped suddenly, so it does not follow that experimental curve, which is follows that the law of TQ. If we are comparing with the experimental curve, so that is Cv versus temperature. So the experimental curve is gives the variation like this. At high temperature, it follows the constant specific heat capacity, and if the temperature is decreases, the uniformly specific heat capacity is decreases. But if we drawn Einstein's theory of specific heat capacity as the identical curve, so that curve is gives the variation like this. It means this Einstein's theory curve is does not follow the that experimental curve. So therefore, here the Einstein is also fails to explain the specific heat capacity at low temperature, and then this deficiency was recovered by the another one of the scientist, Peter Debye. So here also the Peter Debye was used these some assumptions. By using those assumptions, he is concluded that specific heat capacity at low temperature and at high temperature, what we will get. So we'll discuss the theory of that specific heat capacity of Debye's theory and what are the assumptions. In the year of 1912, Peter Debye removed the Einstein's difficulties, and he studied the variation of Cv and temperature of solids. To this variation, he took some assumptions. Those assumptions are: first assumption is a solid behaves like an isotopic continuum. So what is meant by the isotopic continuum here? Isotopic means identical values. It means isotopic continuum is used the physical property of every solid is the same in the crystal. It means every solid, it means the every atoms are there in the crystal system. So all the atoms are having a same physical properties. So that is gives the isotopic continuum. So it means every solid is behaving as a isotopic material. And so physical property is independent to the orientation of the system. So that is gives the first assumptions of Debye. And from this assumption he took a second assumption, that is atoms in solids behaves like a harmonic oscillators. So he used the word as harmonic oscillator. So this harmonic oscillator means in a crystal system so many number of the atoms are bonded with each other. So every atoms are vibrating their main positions in the direction of x-axis or in the direction of y-axis or in the direction of z-axis. So all the atoms are behaving like this. So that's why he took a second assumption, that is atoms in a solids behaves like a harmonic oscillators. And third assumption is that atoms in a crystal or solid are behaving coupled oscillators. So in Einstein's theory, the third assumption is only the failure of the that complete theory. So here the Debye is changed the that third assumption, that is atoms in a crystal or solids are behaving coupled oscillators. Why? Because here in a crystal system all the atoms are tightly bonded with each other. So if it is tightly bonded with each other, it means if one of the frequency of atom is depending on another one of the frequency of the atom. Why? Because if it is tightly bonded with each other, it means the vibration is whatever the energy is there, that energy is transferring to the neighboring atom. So therefore here that nearby atoms are coupled with each other, and then that oscillation is there, that coupled oscillator. Here every atoms affected one another. Affected, it means these atoms are, we have taken an example with the example, that is every atoms are bonded with the one of the string. So if any one of the atom is vibrating, it means that vibration is affecting to the another one of the atom. So that is gives the third assumption. Here the atoms are connected with the string, and then if you give a energy to the one of the atom, that energy is distributed into the all the atoms. It means all the atoms are vibrating at a time. Here one of the atom frequency is depends on the another atom, because every atoms are tightly bonded in the solid. So atom's frequency affects on the other atom. It is behaves as the elastic wave. It is behaves as the elastic wave. We call that elastic wave. So this is the third assumption. And fourth assumption is that the vibration of the crystal is taken as the whole rather than the vibrational motion of the single atom. It means in Einstein's theory we have taken every atom is vibrating independently. It is not affecting anything on the another atom. But instead of that assumption, he took the assumption that if one of the atom is vibrating, it means Along with that atom, all the atoms are going to be vibrate in the system. So that is only the main important assumption in this theory. It means the vibration of the crystal, complete crystal, rather than the vibration of the single atom. So that is gives the fourth assumption. And fifth assumption is that total number of the vibrational mode are limited, that is 3n. Total number of the vibrational modes are limited, that is 3n. It means the vibration of the crystal is vibrational modes of the system. It is a very important assumption, that is from third assumptions. If temperature increases in a third assumption, if we increase the temperature, the kinetic energy is increases. So all the atoms vibrates one particular direction, that is a to and fro motion. It means the every atoms are vibrating their main position. It means it goes to extreme to main position to the extreme. So that is gives the to and fro motion. So this variation is produces the wave nature. Whatever this variation is there, this variation is produces the wave nature. So that wave nature is along with the two directions. One is longitudinal direction, and the other one is a transverse direction. So in a transverse direction, we'll get a another two directions, that is y and z direction. So this wave is superimposes. These two waves are superimposes. From the superimposing, the standing wave is going to be produces. From this superimposition, the standing wave is going to be produces. So this standing waves is generates in which type of the standing waves is going to be generate. We should see that is in a longitudinal or in the transverse. So let us take one example here. We'll take a string or a wire, and these two ends are connected with the one of the two walls. So at the end of these two walls, the particle is not vibrating. The particle is not vibrating. It means we'll consider these are the particles. So number of the particles are present in this wire. So this particle, at the end of the particle, is not vibrating. So this particle is works as a node. So this is also works as a node. And then if I given a force to the string at the center, then leave the force, then the string is going to be gives the oscillations. That oscillations is to and fro motion. To and fro motion. From this process, that whatever the standing waves is generated, so new standing waves is generated. So now we will find the frequency for a different positions. It means the standing waves is produces like this. So at every position, the whatever the frequency is there, that frequency is different. That frequency is different. So therefore, we'll find the frequency for this standing waves, that is velocity, that is velocity of wave divided by wavelength. Suppose this string is having the mass, and if we given the tension, then the velocity of that string is becomes that is mass per unit length, that is gives the phi equals to the root of square root of tension divided by mass. So therefore the frequency is becomes 1 by lambda under root of T divided by m. So here the distance between the two nodes, we know that the distance between the two nodes is lambda by 2, so here the distance between the two nodes is equals to the length of the string. So lambda divided by 2 is equals to the L. So lambda is equals to 2L. Therefore the frequency is equals to 1 divided by 2L under root of T divided by M. So this is the first wave is created. This wave is called as first harmonic or fundamental mode. It is called as a first harmonic mode or fundamental mode. And then now what we'll do, now if we fixed the center of the particle, so here number of the particles are there, so at the end we have fixed beginning. Now what we'll do, at the end and then at the center we'll fix the particle. So if you fix the particle at the end and at the center, it means what will get, you will get a three nodes. One node is at the center and another two nodes at the end of the string. So and then you will get a two waves, complete waves. So the distance between the two nodes is lambda by 2, and here also you will get lambda by 2. So here one node, and at the center one node you will get, and at the end you will get another one of the node. So therefore here the lambda by 2 plus lambda by 2 is equals to the complete wire length. So this becomes lambda divided by 2 is equals to the L, and then lambda is equals to 2L divided by 2. We will write like this only, this one. So then the frequency of this string, this mode, so that is gives the 2 divided by, see here instead of that lambda I am putting the value of 2L divided by 2, then you will get 2 divided by 2L under root of T divided by M. So this is the second mode of harmonic oscillator, or it is the second mode of frequency. And then next one, what we'll do, we'll fix the, this is the string, so we'll fix here one of the atom, and then here at the center we'll get two atoms are going to be fixed, and then what you will get, you will get the waveform like this. So here 1 2 3 4 nodes are there. The distance between the two nodes is lambda by 2, and then here lambda by 2. So this becomes the frequency becomes here, that is 3 divided by 2L under root of T divided by M. So likewise for the n number of the atoms, if you did like this, then the frequency becomes F is equals to the n divided by 2L under root of T divided by M. So here the every mode of the frequency is, every mode of the frequency is different. So here if you see in first mode of the frequency, then you will get 1 divided by 2L, and for the second mode you will get the 2 divided by 2L. For the third mode you will get the 3 divided by 2L, and for the n mode you will get a n divided by 2L. So it means for every mode the frequency is different. For every atom the frequency is going to be different here. Now from this mode of vibration, creating that is a fix, that is 3n. From the fifth assumption, we cannot find the total number of the modes of vibrations, so we'll use the small value of mode, that is a first mode. We'll use the unit frequency of the first mode, that is we have taken 1 by 2L. For example, I am taking here 1 by 2L under root of T divided by M. So this is use the first mode. We'll use this first mode. First we'll find for this first mode, and then later what we will do, we'll add up all the that modes, and in this unit frequency how many number of the modes are going to be created, we will see. Next we will increase the frequency, then again I will see how much modes of vibrations are increases. So number of modes, so here number of modes per unit frequency, range of frequency is mu is equals to Z into mu. So it means for the range of the frequency we have taken Z mu. So here this is per unit of the frequency. This is for unit of the frequency. So here number of the modes in d mu, it means in a small frequency. I am taking a number of the frequency, in that number of frequency the first frequency. So the first frequency, it means I will take a small frequency, that is d mu. So in d mu the range of the frequency is from the mu to, it is changing from mu to mu plus d mu, mu to mu plus d mu of the frequency So that frequency is equals to the Z mu into d mu, So this is behaves like a elastic body. So whatever that vibrations are going to produces and standing wave is produces, that standing wave is behaving like a elastic body, and then this elastic standing waves are going to be performed in the two different standing waves. So one is longitudinal, so this is behaving like a elastic standing wave. So there are two different standing waves are going to be performed in the vibration or a standing waves, that is a longitudinal standing wave, and another one is transverse standing wave. So here for these two standing waves and then transverse standing waves, longitudinal standing waves and transverse standing waves, the total number of the modes, vibrational vibrational modes is equals to the fixed values, that is 3n. So whatever, how many atoms are there, those atoms are vibrating in that system. So that vibrating in the system, that vibrational mode is there, that is equals to the 3n. So we have derived here for the first mode and second mode, third mode, n number of the modes, and all the number of the modes are equals to the, that is 3n. So that is gives the value here. So the here certain frequency is there. At certain frequency it is vibrating. That certain frequency is nothing but, we'll call that is certain frequency is there. That certain frequency it is vibrating. So it is means all the atoms are vibrating. So that certain frequency is called as mu d. So that is nothing but the d-base frequency. That is nothing but the d-base frequency, and the number of the modes of the vibration in the frequency range is, that is mu to mu plus d mu. So using this concept, using these two standing waves, will derive the that derivation, dB is derived. So this is the whatever the that assumption is assumed by the dB. So by using these assumptions, he concluded that whatever the that specific heat capacity of the solids is there at low temperature and at high temperature, how it is behaving. So we'll see in next video. Thank you.